One of the shrimpers that works out of this area was down around Tampa, over 200 miles southeast of here. And there were no other shrimp boats out there. He said, "This is like my dream. I'm the only one out here. I'm just going to clean up." Well, he put his nets overboard and there were no shrimp.
My name's Travis Millender from East Point. We feel the hurt probably more so than any of us because we depend on the water for our livelihood. It's like the farmers in Georgia. They can get water out of the ground to put on their crops, and we can't get water out of the ground to put on our seafood industry. We depend on Mother Nature.
The Corps of Engineers has issued a final draft of its environmental impact statement. The regulations that they put forth indicate that they're going to release less water to us. So the headwaters of this watershed begin up in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, north of Atlanta. It's about 550 miles from there down here to the Gulf of Mexico. And it is the fresh water in this system that drives the productivity of both the river, the floodplain, the bay, and the Gulf of Mexico.
We like to think about water in terms of the volume that comes down the river, but when we have a flood situation, the river is normally contained within a channel, but under flood conditions it spills out of its banks and floods the surrounding forest, the floodplain.
When the floodplain is completely inundated, this is all covered with water and it's carrying the nutrients down to the bay and the Gulf.
And basically what that does is the water kind of scours those floodplains and washes nutrients, leaf litter and things like that, back into the river channel. And all that's nutrients, and it stimulates phytoplankton and zooplankton growth.
And that drives that entire ecosystem that starts up here in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains and traverses that 500-600 miles to the coast and on beyond that. So it is a tremendous natural ecosystem that functions off of the fresh water that flows out of that watershed. What NOAA did in 2011-2012 after the oil spill was to try to value what the fisheries in the Gulf of Mexico were to the different states across the Gulf. What they found is in the eastern Gulf that the fishery is worth over $5.6 billion to West Florida. That's from the Keys all the way up to Pensacola, the entire western portion of Florida on this coast, both recreational and commercial fishing.
I've been fishing since I was 16 years old. I'm 51 now, so quite a while. Back in the day, we could make, pretty much whatever we were strong enough to make, whatever we wanted to make, really. And now it's just, you struggle to make ends meet. You have to be your own mechanic. You have to be your own welder. You have to do it all now instead of hiring it out. We can definitely see where it's hurt, and the profits is not even touching what we used to do. It's a struggle day by day to keep ourselves going. It's part of life that we've been dealt. We're strong. We as a fishery is going to make it. But it's hard when they hold the water up there and use it like they want to use it, not let us have what Mother Nature has allowed us to use.
So again, it's a direct indication that the fresh water is the driver of the productivity, not just of the oysters, but the whole ecosystem. The same type of thing, you can hear stories about the crabs in the bay, that the crabs were almost non-existent for 3 years after that real low period, where the core actually held our flows down to 5,000 CFS or less for almost 13 months. And when we get into those dry and drought periods, it's important that we share the pain and not do as what happened in 2012, where our bay collapsed. The farming industry on the Flint River had its best agricultural production year ever.
I've gone on and worked in different areas and come back here to St. Teresa, Florida, which is right next door to the Apalachicola Bay, and find that we're still faced with many of the exact same issues, particularly related to the water wars that I studied as an undergraduate 23 years ago. I sincerely hope that we can work together to solve some of these issues and make sure that all three stakeholders get what they need out of the river and maintain a good, healthy ecosystem. Anyone who enjoys eating seafood from this area, scalloping in this area, other forms of recreation, can appreciate what it means to have a good, healthy Apalachicola Bay system. And I think it's important for us to make that known to some of our decision makers in this area, that these issues are very important to us as citizens, that we be good stewards of these natural resources.